one of the things that is important to say is to talk about expectations. So just bringing up the topic is important. Hey, what are your expectations around X, Y, and Z? What is important to you with one, two, and three, right? And it could be around things around, what each of you are going to do. What are the roles? Even expectations around gender roles, expectations around dealing with family, dealing with difficult situations, how you're going to, how you each view conflict. So it's really bringing out into the open things that are going to come up in the relationship and being able to talk about expectations. And that's where you find out where the gaps are. So when you learn to communicate those things, it's an opportunity to get on the same page, or at least to know what page you're on. Some of us go into relationships and situations with unspoken expectations. So we never even know that we're on the different page, or we're in a different book, or one person's in a movie, somebody else is in a TV show, right? Because we're never giving ourselves to put those a chance to put those things out and reveal them, so we can see where we differ and if there's an opportunity to find common ground, or if the places and subjects or topics, issues that we disagree on, is it okay? Sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree. We don't have to be in sync and of the same mind 100% of the time. Sometimes it's core values and core uh, things that you want to discuss, and then other things it's not that big of a deal. The other thing about communication is you have to learn that it's a give take. As much as you want to be heard, you have to be willing to hear the other. And sometimes in hearing the other, hearing your partner, your spouse, you might hear some uncomfortable quote unquote truths. You might hear observations about yourself that you didn't expect to hear. A lot of times we will go into communications or discussions with the idea that we're the only ones that have an issue with the way that our partner is being, right? But we don't know, they might have issues with us too. Or it might just be because they're outside of you, they observe things about you that you can't see about yourself. And that's one of the powerful things about being in a relationship, the growth that comes from being emotionally open and intimate, and vulnerable with another person, to where they can see things about you that you can't see about yourself. So part of that communication is that they might share some of those things with you. And you have to be willing and open to listening and to sort of respecting their need to express things too, that it's not just you. I can tell you personally, this has happened with me many times where I don't necessarily see things about myself. We all have blind spots. And so being willing to be open and hear what your partner has to say and actively listen. That means not just hearing, but actively listening to understand and respecting their right to feel what they feel, validating their feelings. And when you do that, that you model what you want your partner to do for you, right? That you want them to hear you, to see you, to validate that you're feeling a certain way. Validate doesn't mean you all have to agree, but it means you accept that their experience is their experience and they have a right to it. Okay? So it's that two-way street that is really, really important, and respecting their boundaries. The best way to get what you want is the golden rule: do unto others as you want them to do unto you. So if you want your boundaries respected, you have to respect theirs. And one of the best ways to respect your partner's boundaries in a relationship is to pay attention to the small things, the details. I know a lot of times we think relationships are made or broken on these big things, but a lot of times it's that saying, death by a thousand cuts, right? We can build up a relationship with small daily habits that accumulate positive feelings and positive actions and appreciation, and we can break them down with 1,000 small things over and over, such as disregarding. Couples might fight over picking up stuff off the floor, or who's going to put the laundry in the laundry basket, or who's going to pick stuff up. One might care more, might be more of a neat freak than the other. You have to be willing to look at the details. And if your partner says that these things, even though they seem small to you, they matter to me, they bother me, or I want more of this. You have to really be willing to respect their boundaries in that way. And that is going to give you, that's going to lay the groundwork for you to say, I need that from you as well. So it's that active listening, and that's respecting their boundaries as well. I want you to also think about what not to do, right? The famous relationship researcher and therapist John Gottman, and by the way, I'm trained in the Gottman uh, therapy approach, is that there are four types of communication that you absolutely want to avoid. And these four types are actually very predictive of divorce. I think upwards like over 80%. If you engage in these four types, you need to stop it now. One is contempt, showing contempt for your partner. Contempt is different from disagreement. It's like it's you as a person, and it's a dislike, right? And so the other person can feel that energy, and it's very distancing. So contempt is something you want to avoid and change. The other is criticism, criticizing that person, always having something negative. It's not sharing how you feel. It's not using I statements to share how you feel about something that's going on with you all. It's criticizing that person in a way that belittles them and makes them, that can make them not feel good. The other is defensiveness. That's where you're never able to take in any thoughts or feedback or anything, observations that your partner is sharing with you. It might be real concerns, but instead of taking it in, you're defensive. You're shutting them down. You're giving the message that you are not willing to listen and understand, and you're taking it personal, and you're being defensive against it. That is very off-putting, right? Think about it. If you've ever tried to share something with someone with good intention and they're just shutting it down, it makes you shut down as well. And then finally is stonewalling. That's different than taking a pause. A lot of times in conflict, there's some people that can't be engaged. They get overstimulated. They need to pull back. They need time. They need space. Stonewalling is a very passive aggressive. It's being aggressive in a passive way. It's a passive aggressive form of communication that says, I am going to completely shut you down. I'm going to ignore you. I'm not going to engage with you. And for the recipient, the person who is being stonewalled, this can be very, very hurtful and painful. They can feel powerless. They can feel unheard. All of those things I said in the beginning, right? It can build up resentment.